Hello and welcome to the Virtual Film Company. Today we're here to talk about another chapter in generative AI. And it seems like there's another chapter to talk about every day, although as we were talking earlier, sometimes multiple times a day. We are here now every second Wednesday of the month. We'll try to get a calendar put up on our Facebook site, Facebook page. Please visit that. We also have a YouTube channel, which we'll also put a schedule up on. I think that would work. And to those people that are watching and those people that are attending, welcome. We're the Virtual Film Company. We're involved in creating film in virtual reality, and we're always on the lookout for people that are interested in anything, pretty much acting, technology, just helping out and making this a reality. We're a non-profit corporation, and so anyone that joins can share in with what we're doing and help steer the organization. So today again, the next chapter in generative AI, Dalle-3, and how it changes the game. And I'm going to hand it over to Chris, because Chris has been the one that's been really raving about Dalle-3 lately. And, I have to agree it's totally cool, but let's hear from Chris.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I really have to say, when I was testing it, I was hearing that a new version of DALL-E, just to say what DALL-E is for people that are not that much familiar with those topics at the moment. DALL-E is the generative AI where you can create images from text, for example, from a company called OpenAI, and they are very famous in the world of artificial intelligence because they also created ChatGPT. They are working together with a small company called Microsoft, and those people are offering their AI technologies, basically from OpenAI, coming from OpenAI, on their services. So for example, today, if you like to try these things like ChatGPT or also Dalle-3, the generative AI to create images, you can just use Bing. And Bing is bing.com. That is something like Google, but it's not Google, it's Bing. So it's not from the company Google or Alphabet, it's from Microsoft. So you can easily go there and for free chat with a ChatGPT bot, ask questions, get answers. And you can also go to the Bing image creator. You will find that easily when you search for that, and create images yourself without paying for it. That's anyways something that is interesting, definitely. And now the new version of DALL-E version 3 is really, in my opinion, a game changer. But we will discuss that because we will see that a little bit later. This version does understand what you want to create on a different level than before. If you're familiar with all these techniques, you know that there are a lot of other companies out there. We talked about them here on our channel. You will find videos if you go to our YouTube channel, and you can see that the link is down there in this little image box where our title is also shown. And if it's a company like Midjourney, or if it's an open source image generator like Stable Diffusion, something you can download to your PC and then create images on your graphics board, basically by yourself. Now DALL-E is much more intuitive. And before, in the last weeks and months and years, let's say, when you try to use an image creator, you always had to think about, what do I have to give this AI as a description? Because it was, you could write something like, I want to have a modern sailing boat with 2 people on top of the ship or whatever. But sometimes you didn't get what you probably assumed. Sometimes there was just one person on the boat, maybe sometimes you have 5 persons on the boat. So it was always hard to get exactly what you wanted. And especially when you wanted to have a very complex image with a complex description of elements that are placed next to each other. And you wanted to say, I want to have a glass cube inside of a glass cylinder and inside again of a glass sphere. Most of the time you didn't get what you thought you would or should get from a prompt like this. And now with DALL-E 3, it seems to understand what you want much, much better. John, what do you think?
I think it's been trained.
Oh, for sure it is.
I'll let John talk though.
Yeah, he's overwhelmed somehow, I think.
Yeah, I think he's gathering his thoughts. Yeah, to me, it's since from going Dalle-2 to Dalle-3 that it is the next level upgrade, and seeing these technologies evolve in such short periods of time. Normally, it'd take a year to go from one model to the next, and now you're seeing could just be a matter of a few months, and they're like, hey, it's time for us to put out the next version. Really amazing how fast things are moving.
Well, that's the way it's going to be, though, and that is the way it's going to be. I mean, yesterday we were talking about, the last 2 days, we've been talking about these developments from OpenAI and Microsoft, and it's, to me, very interesting how that's going to all work out. But, in the meanwhile, Adobe has also come out with their Firefly 2 product, and that's just absolutely mind-blowing as well. So as you say, this industry is just moving so quickly that, it's not really a matter of years anymore. It seems like a matter of days or weeks. And to me, it's very similar to when the internet first got, so to speak, discovered, right? And people started going to the internet, and there were just so many developments happening all the time, the initial browser wars and all of that. But Chris, you bring up an interesting comment that David from Midjourney has often talked about. And that is people's inability to actually write a prompt. And so there is work being done. And, David has basically said that, he wants people to be able to create the image that they want without knowing how to create it or how to even prompt for it. So somehow, there's this human to computer interface going on here. And these companies are working on making it so simple that, again, as you say, I mean, things are getting to a point where, I think you can get the image that you want, but if you do or are able to write a prompt, as, previously you could say, I want, 3 people standing on a dock or whatever, and, 2 dogs or whatever, some number of people or objects, and it was really, whether you got it or not, if you got one or two or none, it was and the same with color and all of that it now is responding better. But to go to Eric's point about training, I think there's definitely 2 ways and probably more ways that these systems are being trained, but one is obviously on existing content, and so biases do creep in, and the other is on what people are doing. I mean, one of the things I've noticed, for example, on Midjourney lately is that pumpkins are creeping into images. It's like, where did those pumpkins come from?
Well, it is the Halloween season, John.
No, exactly. And so, that I think proves my point that these systems are training themselves on the data that users create. I mean, when you put in a text prompt and say, create me a Halloween scene with pumpkins, it's obviously remembering that and storing the image, and now it's associating that with, Halloween and
Right.
pumpkins, but it's also bleeding off into other things. And so I think if I was AI, I would say probably anything that's round and orange that appears or starts to diffuse, I might reach the conclusion that it's a pumpkin. And so because a lot of people
Yeah.
have been making pumpkins lately, I'm going to check oh yeah, it's probably a pumpkin. The probabilities are it's probably a pumpkin. So
Probably, yeah. So just to show some examples when we talk about that, we have the little thing here that I wanted to show. For example, that is one example that I try to do with other tools, and this description here is really like I've got a cube inside of a sphere and the sphere inside of a cylinder, and those cubes and spheres have different colors. I never got it right, and here Dalle-3 did it almost perfectly. I didn't describe how big those different things are. I just said what has what color, what shape, and where is it located inside. And that was a pain in the butt to do that, and it did it really on the point. And it always generates 3 to 4 images, and the other 3 images were also quite right, but this one was the best, and it was the first shot. And the point is, people might say like, okay, so what's so special about that? Well, before Dalle-3 in this case, for example, and other models will follow, they will get better as well, for sure. But before that, you also had to do so-called negative prompts. You have to tell or had to tell the AI, I don't want this. I don't want to have that it looks cartoony. I don't want it to look too dark. I don't want it to have wrong color or whatever. Now, for this, this is Bing Image Creator I used here on a web interface, just in the Edge browser. And there's no negative prompt, nothing. You just describe what you want to see, and you basically get it. There are some more little examples I can show. So, for example, that was
but this is really nice. It's really sharp, and the colors were very vibrant. Oh, interesting.
Definitely.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on in this one.
Yeah, exactly. So here, for example, we talked about that one yesterday in our Discord when we prepared for the show today. And I was just doing that while we were talking. And this is a nice thing with a description like an old man sitting on a chair, holding a smartphone in his hands, in a bathroom where you have a red bathtub with a little whale swimming in. And it's on the point. I mean, there's
very
nothing
much
where you
so.
can say
Very
no,
much
it's
so.
wrong.
Very much so.
And let's see what, for example, Stable Diffusion in this case offered me. I did exactly the same prompt in Stable Diffusion. Yeah, I mean, take a look at that here.
I like how there was a light bulb on top of it too. It realized it needed to light it. Yeah, that's
right.
Wow.
I mean, it's
got the
it's
red
not
right
bad.
and old guy right. Yeah.
Right, but the whale is definitely not inside.
And it doesn't look
it just
like
looks
a
like
whale,
a different
right?
artist painted it. It looks like a different artist painted it.
Yeah, but also the detail here is important.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Not as good. And it doesn't look, I mean, to me, that looks more like a porpoise or something. I mean, the other one was definitely a whale.
Yeah.
Even before you read the prompt, I could see it was a whale.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me what this is, I would have said a dolphin or a porpoise.
Definitely not a whale. Doesn't look like a whale.
Yeah, I'm just going to show that a little bit bigger.
And it's interesting how it's like a door as well, to where it's like, is this thing coming through a door, or is that a fish aquarium past there that it went through? So it's interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. It looks like the whale is behind something, and
it doesn't even look like it's in the tub. It's not in the tub.
Exactly.
But This does bring up something that I don't know if the word struggle is the right word, but to me, the interesting part of generative art is, for example, and I can't see it quite clearly here, but the stuff that's sitting in the right-hand corner, it looks like a plunger or some stuff. And then there's that fish floating in the background, and it's always the interesting little artifacts that seem to creep into these images that make them interesting. And I can do it on Midjourney where I can create a perfect image, but that's not what I want, and so it's
right. I mean, that's where you have different mechanics to, in Stable Diffusion. I don't know with Midjourney, but you have parameters you can set. How strong should the AI follow your prompt, and how much is it allowed to create stuff by itself, right?
Exactly.
You have the same in Midjourney, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have style and chaos and a few other switches that one can play with. And I'm continuing to play with them all the time because they
bring something to the table.
Right? Yep.
But and that's the point. For example, I'm just showing now on the big screen for our viewers the Dali bathroom, and again that image that I created in Dalle-3. We'll put it on here as well.
I feel like they each have a different tone as well. Sorry, Chris, to interrupt you, but yeah, I feel like they each have a different tone. This one looks more friendly because you can see the whale engaged with the photo. The other one definitely has a more ominous vibe. Is the whale coming to get the other guy? So yeah, it's all open to interpretation, but this one definitely has more of what you were asking for. At least with those prompts, like I even really like the way the lighting is on there to where it lights the room. I mean, that's just an added bonus that adds more dynamic, and it doesn't have some of the distracting elements that were on the ground.
Right. That's exactly the point. What you said before, John, for example, was like, okay, there's always some little stuff going in there. Here, it did not add another whale as a sticker or another whale in a frame as a photo or whatever. It really sticks so clearly to my description. I mean, again, I cannot give Dalle-3 in Bing Image Creator any parameters here. I just have this prompt that you saw on it's written there on, and that's all that I gave it.
You could add a style, tell it to.
Yeah. I wrote like in a photorealistic shot. I can also say do it as a comic or in a funny, cartoony style or whatever. Yes, definitely. You can tell it, and it will do it. Also did cartoony stuff already with Dalle-3, no problem at all. But no other parameters, no chaos parameter or whatever kind of stuff. So it's not that technical. So more people will be able to use it, in my opinion. Right? That's the key in the end, because this is a tool for anyone, and the more easy it is, the better. I think.
I think the realism on this one is really kind of like, to find a whale, to put it in the bathtub, to orchestrate this shoot would be a very, very difficult real shoot to pull off. And it pulls it off to where, like, you look at it like, did this really happen? Which is impressive.
Somehow. Yeah, it's really, I was really stunned by them. And it's done in seconds. And I've got another example I can here.
Good.
So let's say when you talk about veganism, more and more people and others are going vegan, like orcs. Right? Why eating flesh from hobbits? Why can't they just eat broccoli?
I love it.
Right? He loves that broccoli. Look how happy he is to have that broccoli in his grass.
Yeah, I will have to show that to our public here as well. Exactly. So a big, ugly green orc holding a big broccoli in his hand and chewing on a broccoli in a futuristic cinematic shot. And he's chewing on something and he's holding a big broccoli in his hand. It's really, really a quite perfect interpretation um, of what I wanted, basically. So, and all the other images I'm not showing here, they created were also really on the point. I was really like, oh my goodness, yeah, incredible. And sure, I also have the same thing from Stable Diffusion. See here. Okay, so let's show that whole screen here. Well, you see, same prompt.
He looks a little bit more angry about holding that thing. He's got a whole different tone about that broccoli right there than the other guy.
Definitely.
But we also see some of the, one of the main characteristics of AI art, centeredness of everything, that the generators center things, I think. And when we looked at that Dalle-3 image, the composition was much, much better than, just bang here in the center. And so, yeah.
Right. The shot came more from the side, yeah.
I will say, like, the detail of his vest and the muscles and everything like that, and then it's out of focus with the back. Like, it looks good. This one looks good as well. It's just a different tone.
It is, but when you think about the prompts, right, it's not chewing on something. It's holding broccoli, but it's not eating it.
If you look at the hands, they're not as good as the other hands by any means.
Well, the hands are hidden. You can't really, the hands aren't in great detail. They're kind of...
Well, they're not, but they're not as good. I mean, I think, there's no...
And you're right, he's not eating. And he's not eating. He's thinking about eating. This one is thinking about eating, and the other one was eating.
Okay, so that's your interpretation. Or, I mean, maybe you can read the mind of AI-generated orcs.
Yeah, you know what? He actually doesn't look as excited about eating the broccoli. So maybe that's the interpretation.
No, but that has been a problem of my sister, when I first started with Midjourney, asked me to do a image of older mystic woman flying through the air, and it just was impossible to do. I mean, it just wouldn't work. And it seems like having actions, AI seems to, and I think this is one of the things that AI works on is layers, right? It identifies what layer is what, and then associates weights with broccoli and the word eating. And so in Stable Diffusion you can go in, well, a number of these products you could go in there and add weight to the eating part, and then it might eat. But again, this goes back to the earlier comment of who wants to do that? You just want to put in the orc or whatever eating broccoli, and that's what you get. You don't have to fiddle around with it's equally weighting every one of these words. And so, yeah, I mean, but to me, one of the very interesting things that's going on here is, as you said, OpenAI is the company that did Dalle, and I still have credits with Dalle, because I really thought that it was one of the worst image generators out there that I tried initially. But I paid my money. I have credits with Stable Diffusion. I mean, I have credits with pretty much everywhere. Night Cafe.
Well, you are digitally wired, so this is not should not be a shocker to anybody to hear run off that list, John.
Where I'm going with this is that being able to create these amazing images. And one of the things that I've noticed with Dalle-3 and now Firefly 2, which we'll talk about in a bit, but is the ability to do text that in previous, well, most AI generators, if you put text in there, it's not going to come out. The letters are going to be jumbled. It's just not going to make sense. In Dalle-3, there's like a high probability it's going to come out looking well. And so, one can put something in there that says, do a Facebook meme that says XYZ and create an image to go with it. And it does. But where the power now comes in is that it's linked to Microsoft Designer. And so, one can basically then just click on a button and you can see your image in, whatever. I mean, a Christmas card, a postcard, a T-shirt, whatever, and you can layer text on it. And, the big question is, and I think Microsoft is already trying to charge for Designer. I believe there's an upcharge. I saw, they were offering me something on I pay, $6 a month or something like that for the pleasure of having Microsoft Office Suite. And and I think, at some point these companies, I mean, right now it's all free and you can do some amazing things with Bing and, Dalle-3 and Microsoft Designer. You can, I think, I mean, the real, what should I say? The people have been talking about, and artists have been complaining about losing their jobs, and it's to me it's really, really now at a critical stage, because that image that you showed, the first image of the bathtub and the whale, I would call that stock quality. And if one can
going into that direction, definitely.
Yeah, and if you can create stock quality, just by a prompt, and the next thing you do is push a button and, you can put together a, post or a pamphlet or, whatever that would have taken an artist hours or days to do. Yeah, I mean, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely, yes. 100%.
I mean, that's one of the things that I see that's going on with this technology is, yes, artists are trying to figure out, where do I go? What does the future hold? And let's face it, spending multiple days or weeks generating an image, if you're trying to build your business model around that, I think you really need to change that around and be like, how can I operate more efficiently? Because it's just, we're moving in much faster time. Like, how could I have maybe some of this generative stuff build an intricate background for me, and then I can just do some of the works to make it still the original piece of art. But I think, like, times are just changing and people need to adapt, and it's tough seeing these people feeling like they just want to stay old school. And I don't know, I feel like it's a very small percentage of artists that are going to be able to do that.
Well, I mean, that's with art in this case, that's the big question. I mean, staying old school. I mean, old school technologies and old school art styles can also come back hugely, because now we will see, it's a little bit like with photography. You have the time where photographs were expensive and you needed huge cameras in the 1900 whatever. And then they had the smaller and smaller cameras, anyone had one, and then you had it on the smartphone. You could do millions of photos in good quality. I mean, they're really doing great images today. But now also they are still photographers, and a lot of them are going back into old systems and trying to find new ways to create art out of that. So it's not just the technology, it's what you're making out of it and what your idea is. Sure, if it's just about making a report, going somewhere, having a great image of whatever, you're going into the mountains and you want to have this one shot where the light is coming through the trees and whatever. Yeah, sure. I mean, right, that might be in the future, photorealistically, I mean, generated with AI, because you can just describe, I want exactly that type of tree and that point in the image with that streak of light. And well, we could also do that in compositing in Photoshop. We could do it in 3D with Unreal, or now you can just write a text and do it in the end.
Yeah,
But, I mean, there's
yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
no, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna comment, like, just what you can put into the images with the prompts, and then soon to be able to take a picture and upload that picture and be specific with who you're wanting to put in the pictures. And people are doing all these photo shoots, and you're going to be able to. You got so much power at your fingertips. I mean, it's impressive. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely. And now I just wanted to come to another topic. We talked about that as well a little bit in our preparations. The point is, I tried to also generate some other images with Bing Image Creator. For example, a toast, and the toast, like Halloween style, should have a bloody eye in its middle. And that was completely refused. And I tried again with a finger or something. And then the warning came, like, if you do stuff like this again, you might be banned. And like, oh my goodness, what did I do?
It's ketchup we use in the film industry, not blood.
For example.
Yeah,
And
but
just,
right. I mean, there are a number of banned words on these platforms that, unfortunately, people have tried to create horrible things. And, we're seeing that right now, for example, with Israel, and, just disinformation.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
so it's at some point there, so it's a very difficult thing to manage. And, expecting people to be responsible, I think, is something that's a pipe dream, and it's just, never going to happen. And so, where does one draw the line here? Where does one say, some of these systems, what they're trying to do is they're running it through GPT, and they're actually running it through twice to try to understand the context that you're using that word in. But again, it's you can beat blood with ketchup, but is that a good thing to be doing? Because that then, to me, just encourages more use of that type of. I don't like bloody pictures to begin with, so maybe I'm biased. And
that's totally okay, but I mean,
but it
when we're
depends
talking
if
about
you're.
art,
It depends if you're from like England, because there might be it's a bloody picture over there. So
yeah, well, that's
it
a
all
different thing.
depends on
But
the
anyways,
context.
first, yeah, that's for sure. It depends on the context. And with a system like DALL-E, for example, now understanding much more of what you want, it can also be censored in a different way, because now it can also probably understand the intention of an image. Before, as I said, we had more something a little bit like a technical description. And sure, there are keywords where blood and violence, whatever they can check for. But now they could also check for, oh, is there a political meaning behind that? Because we do more understand about the intention of the image. And well, that's the big question. Is that a good thing? Because, I mean, censorship, I can understand what you say, John, definitely. Yeah, bad things can be done with it. But on the other hand, if I want to make a nice Halloween picture with a bloody toast, whatever, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess, to me, and we discussed this earlier, where, horror has never been a fascination of mine in terms of media or anything. I mean, to me, if anything bloody is just not a good thing. It's not something I want to look at. It's not something I want to be reminded of. If I can avoid anything bloody forever, I would be happy about that. So, to me, Halloween is more about spirits and ghosts and, not about this bloody, and because bloody is, again, to me, connotates with violence, right? Something really bad has happened here and there's body parts and blood all over the place, and it's like, whoa. I would be so, but having said that, I realize that there are people out there that look at this as art, okay, and there's some
Correct.
and so I cannot say that it's not art. It's just, a personal thing. And it goes back to your comment about, if we're censoring for blood, what are we doing when it comes to politics? And certainly, we are leaning in certain directions with Mid-Journey, for example, not allowing you to create a image of the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, and also banning the person. There was a guy in England that ran a news outlet, and when rumors started surfacing of Trump being indicted, he came out with pictures, I believe, of Trump being arrested and published them. And Mid-Journey, I mean, all of these companies have fallout when, as you know, when Dalle-3 was first released, the big thing was that, you could create an image of Donald Duck attacking the World Trade Center. And it's like, well, you could draw that in a notebook. You could paint that in a picture.
Definitely.
It's like, and I think anyone that's going to be drawing pictures like that or even conceiving pictures like that is sick to begin with. I'm sorry.
Well, John, I think unfortunately there's a big meme culture out there that people like making funny memes to entertain people, and that's their way of getting attention. I mean, there's even groups that all they are about doing is creating a meme. So anytime any kind of thing tragic is happening, like Hillary as the hurricane, like I've seen some ridiculous stuff like that people are creating with that. So anytime anything can go on, it's this meme culture, people being snarky, and I think that really is what's fueled by creating of these things happening on both sides. And it's, I don't know. I think people are just wanting to be funny and they mean to be innocent, but a lot of feelings are being hurt. I don't know. It's a very interesting.
Yeah, so we have Joran, you're right in the middle of our show that we're doing here. If you could take a seat in the bleachers, I would appreciate it.
You're going to become part of a meme, Jordan, if please.
For example. No, absolutely right.
Personal space, Jordan, please, come on. You're in it. He needs to invite you to come up there and sit on his lap. I mean, it's just inappropriate. Come on.
Anyways,
yes, let's just continue on.
All right. He's gone. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay.
He's gone. Right. The point is, in the end, how to handle all that. Again, those models are getting better and better. That is great on the one hand because they do understand much more what we want. On the other hand, we can be controlled much better because they know what we want. So the big question is now: do we in the end have always to fall back on those SDXL models? As I showed some pictures, and they are really not bad, but they are not that precise yet. They will be in the future, I guess, because those are Stable Diffusion right on your private computer at home. There's no one controlling what kind of prompts you're doing. There are some that have safety regulations, others not. Depends what you're downloading. But you can do almost anything that you want with them. So in the end,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
no, in the end, it depends. Like the bad people, let's say, who want to do false information, whatever, will probably fall back to that.
Right, but to me, I mean, I think being able to run stuff locally is great, but it comes down to, does one have the hardware that
Sure.
enables one to do that? I mean, I don't know what the minimum requirements are to run Stable Diffusion Excel. Do you?
Well, yeah, I'm running it, and basically I'm still running it on my 800 euros PC that I built it a year ago, basically. And it's you need a graphics board, quite good one, but you can get one. I got mine for $350. Today you get one of those for 300. It just needs some enough memory. That's the point. You need a graphics board with enough memory. I would always say go for 12 gigabytes, not less. So those 8 gigabytes graphics boards are not good enough in that case. Speed is not the point. I mean, if it takes half a minute longer to make an image, yeah, okay, it's not great, but it's as long as it works. And then have a good middle, performance computer with enough memory in there, and you can do that for $700-800. No problem. You don't need the monster machine for that.
No, that's good to hear, because I think we're reaching a point where, and I reach this point every month with Midjourney, where I think, am I going to renew my $70-odd subscription, or is it time to use, I mean, I've used Stable Diffusion from the beginning, but the quality, and as you showed, the ability for it to follow a prompt is not there. The exciting part to me about Stable Diffusion is just the number of LoRa's out there. I mean, there's just an amazing amount, and worry about viruses and other things like that. But, these services, as you said, like Dalle-3, I mean, it's free right now. You can go to Bing and you can just, generate some amazing images. The other company that yesterday, today was going to be our big news. We're going to talk about Dalle-3, but, as we said earlier, this technology moves so quickly that Adobe yesterday announced Firefly 2. And the interesting thing there to me is that Adobe Express is also free to people to download, and Adobe Express includes the ability to do generative art. And so, now we see two giant companies, right? We have Microsoft with, its whole, and I don't know what deal they made with OpenAI about, how this is all going to work out in the end, and then Adobe. And, to some degree, I believe Adobe is sitting in a really good place, because a large percentage of digital artists use Adobe products like Photoshop and are slowly going to incorporate these AI tools into their workflow. I mean, it's just going to happen. It's like,
I think it's
built into the product.
We were just talking about this a few months ago about how Adobe spends their money because they've got all these subscription base, and then now seeing them come out with this, should be no shocker that they're creating products that people can use.
Oh, for sure. And I'm quite sure that all the other big companies, probably Autodesk and all the others, DaVinci, Blackmagic Design, that is creating a software called DaVinci Resolve, that is for editing videos. They do already have AI tools in there for also image manipulation, for example. I'm quite sure they will jump on this as well.
You
So,
know,
Oh,
I'm so excited for really the editing to really, as much as all those editors love spending hundreds, just hours and hours editing. I mean, I know that they've got some edits that they can do, but it's going to really be great when you can have it even assist you more. So I think that stuff's got to be coming too, that they're prompt editing.
well, we've seen, text-based editing in the recent versions of Premiere Pro, which is rather interesting. But,
okay.
Adobe has, again, I mean, these AI tools, and, I mean, I would challenge, the daily challenge here is telling me one company that doesn't have AI in their product. I don't think any company that is thinking strategically right now should be ignoring AI. And so, again, I think it's just going to become
Probably.
part of it. Although, Adobe is also trying to push this AI image marking standard, meta tagging standard, where any image that's generated with AI is going to be tagged as such. And they're also asking people now to put a little watermark on the images, which sounds, a little
I
bit
don't
much
know.
because
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know
go
how I
ahead,
feel.
Eric.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like I get it. They're trying to differentiate that, but at the end, if it just becomes art, like art's open to interpretation. If you painted it 99%, but then put it through a filter and added one minor thing, so then it becomes open to interpretation of, oh, this was slightly altered. They did a background on it. It's got to be stamped. I don't know. It's.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
see.
we have this for a long time, don't we? I mean, you with when starting digital compositing and being able to digitally manipulate images, and that means you can do a lot of them in a short amount of time because you could load them into Photoshop and make a batch processing there. So you could put stuff on it with just applying filters, and then claim it as your own work, right? That's possible for a long time.
Right, and you didn't have to, say, oh, this, provide a whole workflow of where this came from and everything else. It's just since, this whole AI scare that, I don't really care. I mean, I'm with you, Eric. If it looks, if the image looks like an image, then, who created it? It doesn't matter to me. It's it's a work product, right? If you are putting a catalog together or you're putting a newsletter together or whatever, and you create an image of something to illustrate what's happening, whether it be a barbecue or, whatever. Does it matter? I mean, where that image ultimately came
Yeah.
from the.
I think it's interesting when I've been gifting a lot of art. I'll just carry it around with me from the Gallery of Intentions. And when you give people a piece of art, the first thing they want to know is, did you make this art? And I'm like, no, I have a gallery that I curated it for. And it's interesting because if I created that image, you could tell that they want to talk about how it was created, all of these things. And to me, it's like, no, it's just like, let's appreciate the art for it. And I'm kind of glad that I don't need to go into how it came into existence. It's more about what the art is. And as somebody who appreciates all this art being created, I think it's, I'm happy with the role of being a curator of a gallery instead of the person bringing it into existence. Instead, going to the artist of, hey, I would like these kind of art pieces created, and then the art is brought into existence, and it's more about what the art stands for, which to me is powerful.
Yeah, definitely. It should be what the art stands for and nothing else that's important.
Yeah, And that basically brings me back always to that discussion. If it's about the idea, the art, what people think about, I mean, we always had artists that were also using shocking images, things that are displaced. For example, people that were starting to take the foot and put that on the head of a person, and people thought like, what the heck is that? Why is that so shockingly strange and displaced? And what, like, oh, he took the person into a different context, let's say, or whatever. So it's so hard to judge on what is art and what is a good idea, what is a bad idea. So
100%.
again,
And then you start going to like you go on vacation and you take a picture of this famous spot that just has been photographed millions of times. What is the copy? What is that? Are you allowed to put that art out there, or is the owner of the building, like it's going to start to get really interesting as far as like, because there is some art that you can't take pictures of. You can't get photos of it in galleries. It's copywritten. It gets taken down. So
right.
building's going to become that. It's interesting. Do you own the beach? With taking a picture of it. I don't know.
Well,
For
that
example,
actually,
oops.
happened.
We got some people that are excited here about this show. They're running around and yeah.
Yeah, something.
They're dancing up there. This is our art is being celebrated here. They're excited about it. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it's almost like we played musical chairs there, for instance. You guys disappeared, and now I'm sitting in Chris's chair. So
yeah, somehow
that
I
Yeah,
ended
was
up in the audience. I don't
definitely
know.
interesting.
me too.
Okay.
Mysteries
Well,
of the metaverse.
and that's
Somehow,
what
yeah.
art is all about, right? Experimentation and making things like this work. So, just I think would take this as an opportunity to remind people this is the Virtual Film Company. We're here in Spatial every 2 weeks to talk about matters related to technology, making films in virtual reality. We do have a YouTube channel, which we encourage people to visit. And we're also looking for volunteers. And we have 10 minutes left. So today we were talking about just some of the amazing developments that have happened in generative art over the last couple of days with Dalle-3 and Firefly 2, and the fact that both of these products are available to consumers for free. And that, really makes things interesting because there are still a number of companies out there, Night Cafe, Midjourney, and others where people are paying for the privilege of
Right.
creating images.
But it's like, to me, I feel like part of a main reason why these people are making this stuff free is because it's training the system. Much like the Chat GPT, at first it was free and it was a record number of members. And I look at it as it was very smart for them to do that because everybody went on and, well, not everybody, but a lot of people went on and provided it with training, which is what these things need.
Right,
That is
but
for
that's
sure.
also, I think part of the problem right now is that, there's people that are accusing these companies of using their material for training without permission. But that's like an author saying, I didn't have permission to actually read their book, or post on the internet and digest it. I mean, we as humans learn from things. And so why would we not expect a machine to learn from things? And I think there's this misconception that, once the machine learns from something, it's just going to spit out parts of a book verbatim. It doesn't do that. It could definitely, if you knew which books were used, I'm sure you could say write something in the style of a particular author. And that's, a big issue that's actually going on right now with the US Copyright Office, is that they've asked for comments, but they've said they're not going to do anything with the comments right now about whether style should be something that can be copyrighted, which, I think is pretty horrendous. If you can say, this is my style, so you can't mimic it, you can't, anything that resembles this is mine. And I think there's too much of that in the earth already. So,
but it's always a point. People learn from other people's experiences for a long time. Software development, for example, wouldn't be possible. You're using so many different pieces of code every day. From Microsoft, when you work on Windows, you're always using Windows elements there. You're not writing that by yourself. You're not writing the code to access the memory or access the hard drive and get data from there. You're always using Microsoft stuff or from other companies that before generated code and stuff like that. It's always depending on things other people did before. So we have to learn that we're always sharing stuff that are not necessarily our own creations. But we have to find a way where we are creating new things and we are offering people possibilities to easily make their ideas visual. And I think for sure something like Dalle-3, for example, on this stage now, is really a very good tool for any beginner. I just can say, if you've never tried that, try it now, because it's a good time to jump on it. You will have fun with it. It really works well now.
Yeah, it's totally amazing. And the fact that you don't have to pay for it, is even better. Because
it's kind of mind-blowing this stuff is free, because back in the day it seems like not very much was free. So it's pretty amazing this time that we're in.
Yeah, and when you think how much money you put into Midjourney and the others, that has been quite some money, wasn't it?
It has, but Midjourney, when I look at the amount of relax time that I've gotten from them, it's been, just totally amazing. My relax time exceeds, and I've created over 100,000 images in Midjourney, exceeds the paid time. But
okay,
it's prior to Midjourney, I was paying, approximately $70 every week or so to create, AI images to various services online. And it got expensive. You can say, well, $70 for 1,000 images. Well, that's 1,000 images. Well, that's really not 1,000 images, because probably only, maybe 100, if one's lucky, turned out to be, somewhat usable in those days. So, the fact that you can now create these images using Dalle-3 and Firefly 2 for free, really makes me wonder what the future is for these companies that are, charging. So an interesting time. And I think that's a good time to, Chris is back. Okay. Chris, I was going to say it's a good time to perhaps end today's show and remind people that this is the Virtual Film Company. Check out our YouTube channel at Virtual Film Company. We do this every second Wednesday of the month, but we're also doing other virtual productions, and we would love to have anyone that can act, edit, pretty much do anything. Join us. So if you're interested, let us know. And thank you, Jolly. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mystery. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Any last thoughts, comments, guys?
Well, just try it, guys. Don't be shy. Try that stuff out. I think it will be interesting for many, many people. And join us, like and subscribe the Virtual Film Company on YouTube, and we will be back.
We will
Yeah,
be
thank
back.
you.
Yes.
We will be back.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yes, in our next episode, we're gonna talk about the Quest 3. We didn't want to talk about it today because we want some more information to be released before we put that on the dock. Thank you.
All right. Okay. See you next time. Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah, have a wonderful day, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.